She's the voice behind the viral comedy, bold commentary, and truth-packed interviews that cut through the chaos. Author, brand creator, proud conservative Christian, this is Elsa Kurt. Welcome to the show that always brings bold faith, real truth, and no apologies.
Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to the show. We have another special interview for you today. I am so excited to introduce my two guests, Janita Madison and Tamara Wooldridge. They are just wonderful, wonderful ladies doing a wonderful mission and beautiful work. And I'm so excited to have you both here. So thank you for joining me.
We're glad to do it. Happy to be here.
Okay, so let me start with Janita. And you can correct me if I have anything wrong here, okay? So over 40 years ago, you received a vision to create a discipleship training center where believers could discover who they are in God and understand who God truly is and to embrace their purpose in this time. And that vision, right, led the foundation for Gold Standard Ministries. And you're devoted to restoring identity, teaching truth, and helping people understand that they are more than what performance or circumstances define. And I love that so much. It's so critical. So did I get anything wrong there?
No, you did
Okay.
it right.
Okay. Good. So I'm going to start. Let me start my first question for you, Janita, if you don't mind. Your vision for discipleship trainings, the Discipleship Training Center, came in 1978. Correct me again if I'm wrong.
Nope.
But it took a few years. It took some time before you really saw it just fully manifested. So what were some of the hardest lessons you had to learn while you were waiting and while you were trying to grow this ministry about your identity and trust and God's timing, all of those things? Tell me a little bit about that part of the journey for you.
Well, often when people get visions like that, they think it's going to happen right away. And not very often. God has to take us through a process of letting go of our own way, our own will. And that was a long process for me. I was very good at pushing through things and figuring it out, and that didn't work. I had to get to a place where if this was really going to happen, it was up to God. And I had to trust that he would supply. I never lost that vision. It was very clear, very detailed. And it just never went away. And so I did what I could. I taught groups and I'm a teacher of the word and always went with what was there to be able to teach. And yet, something like that takes millions of dollars. And of course, my husband and I were always people oriented, and he died of cancer in 2007. And so at that point, that was my hardest place because I didn't see how I could ever do such a thing. And yet it didn't go away. So anyway, I went several years teaching, and I got involved with a ministry that I loved because I'd been looking for something like that. To disciple somebody, you need to have the right model for yourself. And I found a ministry that modeled love and saw people through covenant instead of their condition. And that was what I was looking for. So I started going to their events, and something I didn't know about that ministry was that it was a giving ministry. And I went for a 6-week training session and stayed with a couple. They provided everything for me. It was in Oklahoma. And I stayed with them, and it was a family that was involved with the ministry, and they would always question me, okay, what's your dream? What's your vision? And so I shared with them, and come to find out it was 2018, and they were there and asked me to stop by on our way home, over to the airport to go home. And I said, okay. And so I did. And they said that the Lord was saying to give me a very, very substantial gift of, and when I found out that they did that, I found out the ministry did that too. And they would get people out of debt. They would buy homes. They would buy cars. They would, just a gift ministry. And when I got it, I knew immediately God was saying, okay, it's time. And
Wow.
Absolutely overwhelming experience. And because I wasn't a money person.
Mm-hmm.
I was a widow
Same.
on Social Security and taking care of kids. And and so the Lord led me back to Portland, and I found a home that was perfect, 5-bedroom home, 3-bath, and it's a place where people can come even for a week or two and stay, and just like I was treated, to just have them board and just stay here to be trained.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's not the vision. It's not that yet, but I believe that God's intending to do that.
Absolutely. Can I be so rude as to ask you how old you were when that point hit, when you kind of got what you were asking for, or you realized you were getting what you were asking for? What point in life?
That was when I was 77.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And
Well,
it's so
incredible to me too. I mean, why did God wait so long? But he knows what he's doing.
Right. That's the whole, his timing is always perfect. Right. And when you actually allow yourself to rest in that, I think that's there's so many hard things, which I did not know 3 years ago, how hard it is to be a believer. And not so much that your faith in him is tested so much. Well, I guess it is, but in the process, it's the process we have a hard time trusting, and the timing that we have a hard time trusting. And I think your experience is so valuable to people who are in the waiting right now in their lives, right? Who are sitting in the waiting and saying, I have people who reach out to me and they're like, well, if this, then when, I've been doing this, I've been good. I've been devoted. I've been loyal. I've been all of these things. When is it going to be my time? Which, and the obvious answer is, I don't know. I'm not the one to know. I don't know when it's my time for anything. But resting, allowing yourself, forcing yourself to rest in the waiting is, wow, incredible. And here's an example of what happens when you rest in the waiting, right? And allow him to do his work. Oh my goodness. Absolutely incredible. Tamara, I want to ask you, so growing up under the influence of your mother's walk with faith and eventually ministry, how did you personally come to understand who God says you are? And were there moments that you rejected or doubted that identity? Because my first thought always had to be in the teenage years. That's when we get rebellious with everything. So I'm so interested in your experience and growth in this.
Well, we've always been really close. Growing up, we've lived on the ranch with out in the country and raised in a very fundamental Christian background. When we became part of this ministry, I also became part of it because it was something I'd been waiting for my whole life, to see people who actually practiced what they preached. And it was all about love. And, being told that you can't have love without choice. You have to be able to choose love. And that's why we have free will. And that's why there's evil in the world, because people get to choose selfishness over love. And God doesn't want puppets. He wants people that choose him. And you can't do that. He's love. You can't do that without choosing love. And we've been working now on these books, the curriculum since 2020. COVID, it gave us a pause and a chance to kind of, what do we really want to do here? And I initially just started out, doing the layout, putting it into book form, making it, attractive, something that would be kind of fun to look at and read through. And then as we, kind of went through that, and we had our wrestling matches with the way we wanted to say things or, talk about stuff. But especially like in the questions and that kind of thing, I'm like, we can't just have a question that is yes or no. It has to be something that will actually make people think about what's going on inside. What is happening in my heart and my mind, and asking the Holy Spirit to shine his light in our lives, according to Psalm 90, verse 8, where it talks about God shining his light and he'll show us. And when we can see what's going on inside, then we can deal with it. It doesn't have to stay hidden or have any power over us, the trauma and the stuff that's happened to us in our lives. We can actually take it out, ask the Lord to shine his light and change it, heal it. Yeah.
I love that. Tell me a little bit about as far as the curriculum, who is it specifically geared toward? Like, is it geared toward people who are in discipleship? Is it teaching you to disciple? Is it just teaching about God's love? Like, explain the curriculum to me, like who it's geared toward, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes. Originally, my focus was on people, women especially, but men too, like 35 and older. That's been churched all their life, or just churched. And because I was in church from the time I was born, and my husband and I moved quite a bit, and we've attended Baptist, evangelical, non-denominational, Presbyterian, Church of Christ, all of those churches, and Foursquare. In all of those experiences, and we also had a ministry of our own, caring for delinquent boys from Seattle for 17 years. And then other ministries. In all of those experiences, I realized something's missing. I studied the Bible all my life since I was a Christian, and I read things in the Word, and I'm not seeing it. And so, what's missing? And it began to come to me as far and starting to write the curriculum. I knew some of the things that were missing once I got it, became a part of that ministry that I went to. And it was key. The key things. Why is the church so immature? Why do we still judge each other? Why do we still, not love? And why aren't we growing up and becoming real sons and daughters who can do the Father's business? And it was in me just like everybody else. And so by when we started writing the curriculum, it started to really come together what was missing for me. And in all of those years, I just never got it or somehow missed it. But I think that the church didn't have the revelation either.
People don't know who they are.
Right.
Who God says we are.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's what's in the curriculum. That's what I want people to know. People who have not gotten what they were looking for in church. And
you see that so often too. People leaving the church because they're not getting fulfilled. And of course we know that people leave the church because they simply don't like the message.
Right.
They want
have
to
reasons. That's
right.
Sure.
There's certainly a large element of that, especially in today's time where they just want to be told that they're great and they're perfect just the way that they are and all of those things. And, as a Christian, that it couldn't be further from the truth that we are not good. Only he is good and we're saved by his grace. And, and people don't, there is a fraction of society that does not want to hear that because they've been taught by the world and not by the word. And, so that is obviously where we're at. And that's a difficult battle. And I think you hit on so many important things and you hit it right off the bat with the love factor.
Yes.
And that, right. And that is truly our hardest. It's really easy to love lovable people, right? Or people that you deem lovable. It's really hard to love people that you don't find lovable, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I'm still learning it. This is a daily struggle, and it will be a struggle my entire life to look at the people that, that I feel so terrible saying it, but that fill me with hate for them, to turn that around and put the right perspective. So it really sounds like your curriculum and your approach and your vision all really have a heart focus on that, which is just so needed in this world right now more than ever. I mean, it's always been needed. So that kind of leads us into, kind of like the DNA of creation. You both emphasize that believers were created from God's DNA as his image bearers. What does that mean in practical terms for someone today, especially someone who's been told that they are less than or feels unworthy?
I've become aware that in just about everyone's heart is the question, who am I and why am I here? Especially with non-believers. There's something inside of us that knows we're created for something greater, and yet we can't find the answer. And that I believe is what happened in the Garden of Eden. When Adam made that choice, he lost that sense of who he was. And he knew it before he made that choice. But we received his nature when we were born. And so we have all of that selfishness, that self-preservation, that self-interest. Everything is about me. And that's just the way it is with the world. And so what happened on the cross was that old nature died. And, there's always a question there, because then why do I still sin? And but the word says we were crucified with him. And when we were crucified, that old nature went into the grave with him. So it doesn't belong to us anymore. And that's what was missing. One of the things that was missing for me. And because of the question, well, I'm still doing what I don't want to do.
Right.
And anyway, I think the reason we have that question is we're not being taught that it really did die. That isn't a part of me anymore. And when I said yes to the Lord, I was conceived by the DNA of the Lord, his image, and I have his nature now inside of me. And I can live out of that nature. I can make choices. I don't have to sin. And so what we need to learn is that with a new nature that never sins, we have choices. And we need to learn that we can choose every single day to live out of his nature. And he wanted image bearers. He wanted ones who were just like him. And that's his purpose for us, to become just like Jesus and bear his image, truly bear his image, because we're made from his DNA. And that's God's intention, is to return us back to innocence, to doing right, to being just like him, to becoming one with him. All of the scriptures point to that we are returning back to who he made us to be. And so that's the main thing I want to impart to others, is that you're on a journey to back to who you were and are. And then how do we do that?
What an amazing foundation for growth to start there. Like, what a perfect starting point. Because you're right, that is our biggest question and our biggest struggle. You hit right on it. So many people are so lost in our world right now.
Yeah.
And it's because, as you said, they don't know who they are.
That's right.
And they don't know whose they are. And being grounded there is probably it is the most life-changing moment of my personal life. And I would imagine any believer's life, that is the moment when you actually realize whose you are. And now my identity is set. So now there is nothing in this world, in this temporal world, that it bounces off me. It can't affect me. It can't hurt me. Anything that you say to me or tell me that I am, so the world will try and tell you that you're this and you're that, or you're not this and you're not that. And, we have that assurance that if we trust it and we believe it, you get to sit back and say, yeah, no, you don't define me. He defines me. Right. I mean, that is so it's such a profound knowledge. And I get so mad that I didn't know it earlier in life.
I know. You can go through years of struggle, and because we haven't been taught. Yeah. And I have a passion for people, for church people especially, to grasp this, to understand it, to grow up, because he needs us to grow up. We need to be available in this world today to be led by his Holy Spirit to do what we're called to do.
Right.
And to love.
Yeah.
Unconditionally.
Yeah.
Unselfishly. We love.
That's the one thing he taught me early, years ago, is that I don't know how I knew this, but we were working with a gal that was out of a very abusive home. And she would do things and say things, and I'd say, that's not who you are. And I just knew that we're called to be great, and not look at condition in people, but see them for who they really are. And that's what we don't do in church. And because we don't know, people don't know who they are.
Right.
And we can't call people up into that unless we know who we are. And be convinced of that, just like you were saying. Nobody can convince me I'm not who I am.
Yeah. And that knowledge, that deep knowledge, that understanding, I think truly does shape how you're able to treat and be around others, right? Like, it just, once you have that foundation, it's so much, when you're in a good place, in a good, healthy place, whether it's physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, but especially spiritual health, because all of those other things, if you have spiritual health, because you know you have eternity, that this body is just a body, and you have that assurance, it changes how you can interact with people around you, and especially the people that that I mentioned that you may deem difficult to love, unlovable in your own eyes, which is not that you're viewing it correctly, of course, but it does give you that pause. I know it's teaching me that pause. Again, I got a long way to go, but that is teaching me to pause. And instead of, I think one of the most powerful things I heard was, maybe instead of cursing the person that cut you off in traffic, maybe instead of cursing them, maybe pray for them. Like, turn it into prayer instead of a curse. Cause we're so quick to, lay on the horn and say some angry things. And I hope you have the day that you deserve, and get mad and maybe say some, especially not nice things. So, just making yourself pause and think those things. And talk to me a little bit about, you kind of touched on a little bit of, like, kind of, I guess, church culture, I guess, would be. So how does somebody, I would imagine for you, it's a very quick thing. You've been in so many different churches, different denominations and everything. Are you very quickly able to determine if it's an unhealthy church?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It's apparent quickly. Yeah. What are some things a new believer, a new churchgoer should be looking for, essentially?
Love. Is the leader, are the leaders able to love, able to discern? And we're a part of a church right now that is like that. And I would look for, is this helping me grow? Is this contributing to my growing up, maturing? And a lot of times it's all about performance. You do this right, you should do this, you should not do that. All of those things, those are things Holy Spirit tells us anyway. But a lot of the situations are all about, how can you serve the church? And we do need to serve the church, but we need to be encouraged to be who we are called to be. Everyone has a different destiny, and we need to allow people to find their destiny in God and pursue it. And I think a lot of times that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think you're right. I hear all the time. I was very blessed we found our church on the first try, and I did not know that was a big deal until so many people afterwards said, wow, this was your first church and you knew this was the one. And it's so funny that you said that, because I'm internally, I was probably like nodding my head so hard when you were saying that, because it was such an immediate feeling of love and embrace and welcome to our church, that I knew in my heart that, like, this is the one. And my husband is more pragmatic and more reserved. I'm exuberant. I'm like, I love this place. It's everything to me. And my husband is more reserved, so he was the balance. We talked before we came on air, we were talking about balance, right? So he was the balance that, and he's like, well, let's give it a little time. Let's wait and see. Let's get the vibe, all that kind of stuff. And, all I technically knew going in is that I wanted a Bible teaching church, like that was the major thought in my head. That, I just want to learn the Bible. I want to learn the truth, and I want it taught right. And, so we were super blessed with all of that. So I think your message, your message there is so important for people. So go in, it should be a loving church, obviously a Bible teaching church. Church is, great, but that is such a perfect starting point to go from, because as we said before, people get put off of church for exactly what we're talking about, not feeling the love, so to speak, right? And obviously that's going to put people off. I want to talk about your purpose and calling. We have been basically talking about it, but I want you to like kind of crystallize this for me. So Tamara, I'll start with you. What do you think that your purpose in this season is, and how has it evolved as Gold Standard Ministry has grown?
My purpose, and I actually call it my covenant, the covenant that God gave me, that I have with God, is to see people become who He intended them to be. He to facilitate that, to help people know who they are, and that whatever they've had to endure through their lives, there's an answer. There is a way for them to get all of the junk out of the way and find out who God says they are. And that has, it's been an evolution, just as we've been processing through these books, and it really crystallized in just the things that I hear Holy Spirit speaking to me and pointing out in myself. Look at this. A recent example is I asked my heart, what do you need the most? And I heard trust. I need trust, and realized at that point that my trust level with myself, with God, with other people was not where it should be. And so now the last few weeks, months has been processing through that. How do I learn to trust more? How do I choose that? Because really trust is a choice. And so that's been kind of, it's always an ongoing journey. Wherever you're at, there's always another layer to take off of beliefs and lies that you've believed, and traumas that have happened, just processing through all of that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about that a little bit more. The healing from trauma. For so many people, past traumas, disappointments, or hurts all become barriers to embracing their identity and their purpose. For each of you, whichever one wants to answer first, how have you navigated your own pain, and what kind of healing has been critical for you to walk in freedom?
Well, I have learned that we're either going to stuff it or work through it. And it's usually stuffing it. And then it comes out later in our lives, affects what we choose, affects our behavior, affects those when we stuff things, we make choices based on why we stuffed it. And so dealing with grief and trauma is so crucial. And lots of people have gone through horrible stuff.
Yeah.
And it needs to be healed. And so it's choosing to acknowledge it. First of all, it's there. And I know it's there, and then being willing, because it's hard to pull up pain and let God heal it. And yet I've seen people, the one gal that we worked with for 30 years, she became a part of our family, and she persevered through horrible stuff. And she is now working with other people that have gone through the same things. And so I've seen people heal from that kind of trauma. But it's a choice. It's always a choice to just let it be stuffed or get it dealt with.
Yeah, absolutely. My husband, when we joined our church and we decided that we wanted to be baptized, and we had our conversation with one of our pastors. And as we were driving in, my husband, who neither one of us have any faith background, we were just, I mean, I was Catholic, but we weren't practicing by any means, never went to church except for holidays and special occasions and, things like that. And he was the same. And so when we were driving in, he said, well, is he going to make me confess? Is it going to, because it's a Baptist, we go to a Baptist church. Is it going to make me confess? Because, I don't want to hash up all of those things. I don't want to talk about, stuff from the past and the war and all of those things. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm like, I know it's going to be a conversation between you and God. You don't have to you can, and it's good to, but you do it on your own terms. But this is a relationship with God. They're helping you understand that. And you talk about what you want to talk about, so there's a huge misconception, I think, that people from like a Catholic background, and I'm not knocking any other denominations, nothing, just, but they don't understand that it's different in other, that's not quite what we do. So, and then I think those are important things to realize, that this is about a relationship with God. And if you turn to him and if you run to him, that will change your life for the better. And I think it does make you able to start to talk about that, because you start to understand, like you were saying, the purpose of your pain might be to share it with others to help them heal, so there's a purpose to it, right? You find the same things, Tamara, or is your experience any different, or?
No, it's pretty much the same, I think, for everybody.
Yeah.
The number one thing is to know that God wants a personal, intimate relationship with you. And, it's been a difficult summer for me this summer. I lost my husband in June. He'd been ill for a while, and I lost him. And so it's been a summer of processing through grief and coming to that place of just letting it be what it was. And, I pretty much cry at the drop. I leak all over the place.
I get it.
Yeah,
I do. I'm so sorry for your loss. And it's so difficult, to suffer that kind of loss, and, the joy of knowing where he is now and who he's with now, it is a comfort, but it doesn't change your earthly loss, right?
Yeah, I still miss him.
And I think that's, I think that's powerful because you have that understanding that you can share with somebody else who's grieving, who's experiences, who maybe isn't as spiritually and emotionally evolved in that thought process as you are, and you can help them get there. So what a gift to know the things that you know is really so beautiful.
I know that God is good. He's always
Yeah,
good.
he's
No
always
matter
good.
what we're going through, he's good.
Yeah. Yeah. He is the comfort, right? Something that you both do that I understand is that you refer to God as a good father, as the father. And that is something that has from the beginning always touched my heart immediately, that reference to God as the Father. What are some of the ways that the Father heart has expressed itself in your life, especially in moments where you maybe didn't feel love or accepted? How did that change that for you? And it's even better if you can't think of a moment that you felt like that, right? I mean, what a gift.
Well, and I would say that he's always been father to me.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as back as I can remember, and I've had the awareness of his presence as a father to a daughter, and so I can't think of a situation where I didn't feel that.
I'm so glad that you can't. I love that. What a, just what a gift that is you feel the same, Tamara?
Well, yeah. And, it's kind of recognizing because, a lot of times when we become believers, we start out as being just kind of a servant of God.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like we're out there doing our part. And then it for some, it kind of evolves into becoming a friend of God. And then it will become, when you can choose to be a child of God. And a child of God is someone who comes to the table when they're called. They live in the house. They're not just a friend or a servant. They're actually part of the family. And just coming to that place of, I am a child here, it's not just always my will, my way. It's, what does the Father want? What is he asking of me?
Mm-hmm.
And basically what I hear the Father asking is, I have all these kids out here who need me, but they don't know how to get to me. And will you go and show me to them? And that's being a child of the Father, is being the one that will go out and rescue the ones that need to be rescued, that are crying out for love.
Mm-hmm.
And the Father's love.
Yeah, I think. Tell me if you've found this in your experience that the ones. My guess is more often men may have a more difficult time giving over, right? For women and girls, I think it's easier because we're softer, and it's easier for us to just kind of fall into that embrace. Accept it, right? And men, I think, have a more difficult time because they're so used to being the men, being the man, being in control, and not showing vulnerability and not
Yes.
needing a father. And then particularly you add ones who don't have good or have any relationship with their father, their biological father. So how would you speak to someone whose heart is so guarded against accepting all that the Father can give to you? Because like you said, there's so many layers. There is the Father, there's the friend, all of these things. What language would you give to someone to help them open their heart to that?
especially men.
Mhm.
I would affirm them and let them know who they are as much as possible.
Mhm.
Because, well, one of the things I wanted to add, why men or women fight so hard against being vulnerable, against, and I experienced that years ago because I was always the good child in my family.
Mhm.
Um, we had aunts and uncles that would come and live with us and everything, and my sister was the opposite. And so I was the good one. She was the difficult one. And that was my identity. And so it stayed with me for years until a friend of mine said, "You are so self-righteous." And I thought, oh dear, okay,
Aw.
how do I deal with that? And I couldn't deal with it because that was my identity.
Right,
And
right.
if I let go of it, who am I? And
Mm.
that's what people go through. They don't know their identity.
Mhm.
If they know who they are, then uh, those things can't get to them. And so I want people to know. I would with men. I would like we have one right now,
Mhm.
and just continue to affirm and love and let them know that's not how I see them. I see them different, in God,
Mhm.
and just continue with that until they feel safe.
Yeah. I like what you both have said. I like everything you both have said, by the way. Um, but I especially like a point that you've both made throughout, right from the very beginning, about love being a choice. All of these things are a choice. Forgiveness is a choice. Love
Yes.
is a choice.
Yes.
There was another one there, and I'm drawing a blank, and I don't want to keep dwelling on it, but it'll come to me. But I think it's so important to point that out, that these are choices. You can choose to do this. And
Mhm.
it really is, it's that simple of a concept. And I know in practice, it's maybe not so easy, but if you make the choice every single day, in every circumstance, you pause, it's that pause, right? Where you say,
Mhm.
hang on, I have a choice here. I can act out in, I can choose anger, I can choose rage, or I can choose love and compassion. And I think when people get that in their head, really just engrave it in their brain, that this is a choice. Everything I'm doing right now is a choice, and I can choose a path of peace and love and goodness, or I can choose that other dark path. And, which one will serve better? And,
Mhm.
I love that you convey that message. And it sounds like that's a huge part of your curriculum, right?
Yes, and I do want to say that um, as long as we keep stuff stuffed,
Mm,
it's a hindrance to our relationship with the Lord. It
mhm,
stands in the way. And that's why it's so important. He is intent on our healing and our freedom,
mhm.
and will take us there if we will say yes. And only when we say yes, um, then He will deal with it and remove it from our
Yeah.
hearts.
Mhm.
So
I think people, myself included, all right, let's face it, I'm asking this question for myself. Um, when in my conversations with God, or as I'm learning to have conversations with God, I get tripped up, and I know I'm not alone in this, because sometimes I feel like, am I speaking to him the right way? Am I, should I be saying, Heavenly Father, this, that, and the other thing? And I tend to be a very conversational person. So if I'm driving in the car, I'm like, hey, God, listen. So I was thinking, how about if, and then I'm like, oh, is that inappropriate? Is that
oh
wrong?
no.
Like, tell me if you would, like, is there a right? is there a wrong?
There is no right or wrong. He accepts us right where we're at and how we are. I mean, it's all okay with him. He can deal with it.
I love that.
And he doesn't hold it against us. He doesn't do any of that. He just loves us and walks us through whatever we need to know. And it's just like, a parent dealing with their children. That's how he is with us. And if we're still a toddler in in some areas of our life, that's where we're at. And he works with that. And
I feel like I'm a perpetual toddler.
No, you're really not. Just maybe in an area or two, whatever. It's just, that's the way it is with all of us.
Yeah.
We still have areas that are waiting to grow.
That's so comforting. And, and I think it's so important for all of us to remember that we're not going to be perfect in this walk. We're literally incapable of it. And that's why we need him, because he is the perfect one. And I have to remind myself of that all the time, when I get angry about something and just lash out instead of taking that pause, I get so mad at myself, like, come on now, you know better. And it's like, yeah, he knows that you're going to keep failing and need to keep paying. But it's the caring, right? It's about wanting to do better because you know who you belong to. So,
and knowing that the Holy Spirit is the one who helps you with it.
Yes.
He's the one that shows you things.
Yeah.
You can't fix it. I'll just tell you that right now. We can't fix it ourselves. He has to show us, and he will show us the way.
Yes. I have taken to saying, every time I'm going into pretty much any situation now, but especially difficult ones where if I know that that I have to have, a confrontation or a difficult conversation or whatever the case is, I always ask the Holy Spirit to speak through me, to speak for me and through me, because whatever I'm going to say is not going to be good. It's not going to be helpful. So, and ladies, it's actually working. Like, that's the part that blows my mind. I'm so bad, and I'm embarrassed to admit this. I'm a terrible apologizer. I don't do it well. I give back. It's a very, very bad personal trait that I have a difficult time apologizing. And I had to apologize to somebody recently. And before this happened, I was struggling so hard with it because I didn't want to do it, quite frankly. And that was what I said over and over again, to be honest with you. And the words that came out of my mouth were not mine. They were not me. They were very mature. They were very appropriate. They were genuine. Like, I don't want to make it sound like it wasn't genuine. I genuinely felt the words that came out of my mouth. They're just not the words that I would have spoken. And I drove home, called my husband, and I'm like, honey, you're not going to believe what just happened. You're not going to believe what I just did. And then I had to correct and say, well, all right, it wasn't me. It was the Holy Spirit working through me, for me. And so, yes. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I had to share that little personal anecdote. So tell me, if someone remembers just one thing from today, one truth that you hope will settle deep in their heart, what would that be? And how do you hope their life will look different because of it? Find out what your identity is and what God says about you. He says awesome things, and it's all in the book. You will discover who you are. And it's essential. It just has to happen for each of us. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. How about you, Tamara? Sorry.
I would just say yes.
Yeah.
Say yes to the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just keep saying yes. Just, Lord, what do you want to do? I say yes to whatever it is you want to do. Just show me what it is.
Beautiful. Yeah. Absolutely perfect. Tell everyone where they can find your curriculum, where they can learn more about Gold Standard Ministries and more about what you're doing.
Go to our website, which is
goldstandardministries.com. We also have another website that's pretty much the same. It's called sendinghub.org.
Okay.
And
but the book is available on.
The book is called The Invitation.
Beautiful.
Discover the Treasure of You.
Beautiful. And that is on the website. Is that also on Amazon? Can they find that any other locations, or everything through the website?
I believe it's on Amazon as well.
Perfect. Okay. Excellent. Outstanding. Ladies, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and indulging me in my little stories and questions and all of that. Thank
nice
you.
To meet you. Yes.
It was so nice meeting both of you. And for the viewing and listening audience, it is Gold Standard Ministries, and the book is The Invitation. And we will have the link for their website in the show notes, so you'll be able to find that there. And I hope that you do, as you all can see for yourselves. This has been just such a pure conversation of faith and love and good intention and all of those things. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next episode. Take care, guys.